Bangladesh is in the grip of fresh political turmoil, with the core leadership failing and uncertainty mounting every minute. On the one hand, the Bangladesh Army Chief has called for fresh elections to be concluded by December this year. On the other, Bangladesh de facto Prime Minister Mohammad Yunus has threatened to call it quits unless political parties agree on citizen reforms. The country in the throes of an intense power struggle that could potentially trigger fresh demonstrations, risking a replay of scenes from last year. That's when the Sheikh Hasina government was overthrown in August. This brings us to a key question. Is Yunus's time in Bangladesh power politics up? Let's go through what has actually happened one by one. First, in a strong message, Bangladesh Army Chief General Waker-uz-Zaman has said Bangladesh is in urgent need of fresh elections. He's even set a target, the end of this year or even earlier. His comments come at a time when the interim government has been delaying announcing election dates in the country by repeatedly raising the need for electoral reforms that it says should be implemented at the earliest. The Army Chief has made it crystal clear that his stance on elections remains unchanged, stating it is the right of an elected government alone to determine the country's future course. Meanwhile, dissent against Yunus is also intensifying, with the Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP holding large-scale demonstrations and critics accusing him of trying to cling to power using student bodies and the support of hardline Islamist groups. Even though Yunus has previously remarked that elections will be held by June 2026, there's perhaps growing impatience in political quarters, with many even demanding his immediate resignation from his post. The question is, will Yunus yield? Well, it's unclear at this point of time. In politics, things are always shifting, and there's always more than what meets the eye. Amid the rumors of Yunus threatening to tender his resignation, a cabinet member and special advisor to the Nobel laureate has said he needs to remain in office as interim leader to ensure a peaceful transition of power. A lot has happened since Hasina's exit, with the Yunus-led government promising major reforms in various sectors, but not much has been delivered, unfortunately, and that's owing to growing disagreements in the government machinery. Needless to say, all this puts Yunus and his administration in a tight spot. A party that emerged on top after last year's student uprisings faces a serious risk of elimination at this point. What perhaps can save it, if you may wonder and ask? Another student uprising committed to reform and a change of system first, rather than just a change in government. Reports suggest students and Islamists plan to demonstrate in capital Dhaka in what they are calling a march for Yunus, demanding that Yunus should be kept in power for the next 5 years at least. This is in a bid to keep up an agitation against the army, who the demonstrators are up in arms against, alleging that it is trying to fragment the country. With the Sheikh Hasina-led Awami League banned from political activities, the BNP, the only other major party in Bangladesh, stands in the way of the Yunus government staying in power. What happens next in Bangladesh? Well, that is anybody's guess. And WION earlier spoke to Ambassador Humayun Kabir, former Foreign Secretary to Bangladesh, to make sense of the issue. We asked him how he looks at the fresh push for elections in Bangladesh, and here's what he had to say on that.
Election is a national issue and it should be decided by the government. So what Army Chief has suggested is just kind of suggestion or his expectation. I think at the end of the day, it would be organized by the government in consultation or in an understanding with the major political stakeholders. So that is the kind of arrangement. And Obviously, people have a high expectation for elections because for the last 15 years, 16 years, people didn't have the opportunity to cast their vote. So there is a kind of, you can say, intrinsic demand and expectation from all sectors of people.
We also asked him what happens if the polls in Bangladesh get delayed, as the Yunus government prioritizes reforms at this point of time.
Elections would not only solve the problem, because the kind of problems that Bangladesh has now is a structural problem. Elections were there. I mean, since our independence in 1971, we had election in 73, and subsequently we had a number of elections. We want elections so that a sustainable democratic structure can continue